em apply bên Electrica, nghe lạ quá, xong cái ông bảo là
for chapter 6, defining the organization's strategic direction. Now, just friendly reminder, remember next week we have midterm. Okay? And midterm goes from chapter 1 to chapter 7. Okay? So be sure you read, understand the concepts, ideas, remember the S-curves, graphics. Okay, so strategic direction. In the overview. So the first step into the strategy of the company is to assess where the company is today, how it's standing up, and define where it's going to go. So, formulating an innovation strategy requires an accurate evaluation where the firm currently is. Okay? You need to make a study inside of the company and also outside. It requires articulating ambitious strategic intent, one that creates a gap between the company's today, existing resources and capabilities, and the future. What is required to achieve its intent. The ability to the firm to cohesively leverage all its resources around the unified vision and enable it to create a competitive advantage that is very difficult for the competitors to copy, to imitate. Okay? Remember we talked last week about value. So now we're talking about competitive advantage. Not easy to copy. So, having that in mind, how do we do it? So first we start by assessing. Assessing the firm. At the back, remember 2 tables. No one sees 2 tables behind. There's a lot of space. So, we first start with an external analysis. What do we use? Porter's 5-force model. Do you know it? Have you studied Porter's 5-force model? Yes? No? It's new? People, have you learned about Porter's 5-force model? Yes? Okay, I hope so. It should be easy then. So, this model, the attractiveness of an industry and the firm's opportunities and threats are identified by analyzing 5 forces. Degree of existing rivalry, bargaining power buyers, threat of potential entrants, bargaining power suppliers, threat of substitutes, and a 6th one, the role of complements. Remember, last week we talked about a lot about complements. And basically, the objective is to identify threats and opportunities. So, the first was the degree of existing rivalry. An industry's degree of rivalry is influenced by the number of factors. The first one is the number and relative size of competitors. They will shape the nature of the rivalry. Obviously, the more firms in the market that are of comparable size, the more competitive the industry will be. If the companies are the same size, that's a rival. If they're not the same size, it's not a rival. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. For example, oligopolistic industries, those that have few large competitors, can freely be competitive firms if they choose to engage into price wars. Okay? Think about big companies. On the other hand, oligopolistic industries can have low degree of rivalry if the competitors choose avoid competing head-to-head in the same market segments. So, for example, we can think about oligopolistic companies such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Okay, they're similar size. There is really no other competition in the market. There are other brands, smaller brands, not really a threat. And obviously, they have a price point. Again, guys, lady, and Mr. don't sit in the back. I say 2-table rule. No one sits in the 2 back rows. There's space, 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 space. Rivalry is also influenced by the degree in which competitors are differentiated from each other. If competitors are highly differentiated, they will experience less direct rivalry because their products are likely to appeal different market segments. Okay? Think about Apple with the iPhone and all the brands that it keeps. They look the high profit segment, high class, luxury. Okay? Not for low income houses. Think about that. So even though there are many cell phone companies, Apple is above everybody, above all. And then other small brands, think about Oppo, Huawei, Redmi, they go for the lower segment. So even though they are in the same business, they are so highly differentiated, they are not direct rivals to the brand. There are also demand conditions influence the degree of rivalry. When the demand is increasing, well, there are more revenues to go around, and the firm will experience less competitive pressure because everybody's buying. Okay, the market is so good, everybody's selling, everybody's buying, everything is happy. But what happens when the demand is declining? They have to compete for a shrinking pool of revenues, and then the competition becomes very aggressive because the sales drop. And honestly, I need to make money. So again, the rivalry becomes very aggressive. In declining industries, high exit barriers. For example, large investments not recovered yet. Remember, all this is investment. And the main objective is recover the investment and start to make profit, money. You can also intensify rivalry by making firms reluctant to abandon the industry. I cannot quit. I need to recover first. So that's a high exit barrier. I cannot quit. It's too late for me to quit. Number 2, the threat of potential entrance. Okay, this is influenced by both the degree of which the industry is likely to attract new people, new competitors, and the height of the entry barriers. If the entry barriers include factors such as high startup costs, brand loyalty, difficulty in gaining access to suppliers or distributors, government regulation, threat of retaliation by existing competitors, and many other factors can be a threat of coming into the market. How flexible is that, or how rigid it is, will define new threats for the firm. So while profit and growth may attract new entrants because it's a good market, it's a good business, the entry barriers will stop them, will deter them. To effectively compete against these companies requires the entrant to be able to manufacture, advertise, and distribute on a large scale. Okay? If the market is already set, you cannot come in weak. You need to come in strong. And that's what brands like Xiaomi did. Okay? Xiaomi started from zero, very small market, only China. And they became very aggressive to expand to other countries, to other markets. Now, some of these capabilities should be obtained through partnership with other firms, such as having contract manufacturers handle production and having lowering startup costs. Okay? Partnership with other local, for example, companies to facilitate entry into the market. Number 3, the bargaining power of suppliers. The degree to which a firm relies on one or two suppliers will influence its ability to negotiate good terms. Remember, the suppliers are the ones going to give me the raw material I need to make my product. So, if there are few suppliers, or the suppliers are highly appreciated, well, the firm may have little choice in its buying decision. You don't have options. If they're the only ones with supply, I need to buy from them. And then they have little leverage over the supplier to negotiate prices, delivery schedules, and other terms. I cannot decide. I depend on my supplier. So they leave. Now, if there are a lot of suppliers, they are not highly appreciated, they offer the same, well, the papers turn around. And then I have the power. And then the suppliers, they have to beat against each other. Who will offer me better price, a better deal? And I can choose lower prices for the things I need. The amount of the firm purchases of the suppliers is also relevant. If the firm's purchases constitute a lot of the supplier's sales, well, the supplier will be heavily reliant on my firm. And then the supplier has no other option than follow me, what I say. Now, on the other hand, if the supplier's sales constitute a large portion of the firm's purchases, the firm will be heavily reliant upon the supplier. And the supplier will have more bargaining power. Everybody follow? Yes? Okay. So, there is something called vertical integration. It's getting into the business of one supplier backward or one buyer forward. Vertical integration. So, for example, if the company begins to produce its own supplies, it has practiced back vertical integration. And a firm that buys its distributor has practiced forward. So remember, simple. So you're in the middle. You're between the suppliers and the distributors. You know vertical, right? Up, down. So, remember, this is a line. Okay, raw material, transformation, final product. So, again, back vertical integration, I start to make my supplies. I don't need any more the supplier. I can make it my own. And forward, I don't need resellers. I will sell it directly. Think about, in this case, think about Samsung. Samsung, they make the screen, they make the chip, they make the memory RAM, they make the hard drive. They make everything they need for their phone. And think about Apple. You know, Apple, they have the Apple Store. Obviously, in US, in America, and third countries such as Vietnam that you don't have Apple stores, well, they will go with local distributors. But usually they try to practice forward vertical integration to keep control of the quality and the after-sales service. Everybody follows? Backward integration, forward integration, it's not difficult. So, if the firm can backward vertically integrate, produce its own supply, it will lessen the supplier bargaining power. And if the supplier can threaten the forward verticality, integrate into the firm's business, this will increase the supplier's bargaining power. Maybe the supplier said, okay, you don't want to buy from me, I will do your product and I will make it better. So then the supplier becomes a competitor, a threat. Now, how about the buyers? The bargaining power. That's the degree to which the firm is reliant on few customers who increase customers' bargaining power, and vice versa. If the firm's product is highly differentiated, well, the buyer will typically experience less bargaining power. They have no option. They have to buy from them. If the firm's product is undifferentiated, well, buyers will typically experience a greater bargaining power because they can choose from different products. Now, if the buyers face switching costs, this is likely to lower their bargaining power. If the firm faces switching costs to work with other buyers, this will increase the buyer's bargaining power. For example, there is a very interesting case about Microsoft. You know, Windows is everywhere. In government, in private companies, in our houses, it's everywhere. But obviously you should know that Microsoft Windows is very vulnerable, easy to hack. Virus, malware, okay, online ransom, etc. So, some countries, they are choosing to go to Linux OS. And obviously, you know, Linux is open, is free, is safer, but everybody's facing switching costs. Because most of the software that we and companies and governments use works in Windows, but it doesn't work in Linux. So they need to reprogram the software to be able to run in a new OS system. And therefore, they have no power. They must keep using it. So, if the buyers can threaten to backward vertically integrate, this will increase their bargaining power. And if the firm can threaten to forward vertically integrate, well, it will lower the customer bargaining power. And the last one, substitutes. Well, substitutes are products or services not considered competitors, but fulfill a strategically equivalent role for the customer. For example, think about in Vietnam, Highland Coffee. They may consider other coffee houses as competitors, but other social destinations, bars, restaurants, or other beverage, think about, I don't know, milk tea, orange juice, they can act as substitutes. The more potential substitutes there are, and the closer they are in function to the firm's product or service, the greater the threat of substitution. The threat of substitutes will also be shaped by the relative price. For example, while traveling by bus against air, well, it's not very comparable in terms of speed. Obviously, traveling by air is faster than land by bus, and also buses are cheaper, less expensive. So there is a threat of substitution, especially in short distances. For example, think about, I don't know, Dallas. By car, it takes you what, 4 or 5 hours? By airplane, half hour. But if you compare the price of the bus ticket and the flight ticket, obviously the flight ticket is much more expensive. And remember, if you want to take a flight, you need to be before in the airport. So maybe 3 hours. So if you think the total will be 4 hours, and if you go by car it's 5 hours, it is much cheaper if you go by land. Everybody follows? So that would be a substitute. Now, note that distinguishing between a competitor and a substitute depends how the industry is viewed. How are you making the comparison? Again, thinking about the airline and the bus. If we think the airline industry, then the bus is a substitute for airlines. But if we think about transportation industry, then the bus is not a substitute, it's a competitor. You follow? Depend on the point of view, how you're looking at the market. If you're thinking about the air industry, the bus is a substitute. If you think about transportation industry, then the bus becomes a competitor. Everybody follows? Think about coffee. Okay? If we think, I don't know, Coca-Cola. In the coffee industry, Coca-Cola will be a substitute. But if we think about the drinking industry, Coca-Cola is a competitor of coffee. Everybody follows? So it depends on the point of view. And the sixth force, the law of complements. Again, order and knowledge, the law of complements. Availability, quality, price of the complements will influence the threats and opportunities posed by the industry. So it's important to consider how important are the complements in the industry? Do I need them? Does my product need them? When the complements are differentiated available for products of rivals, will those complements work in my rival's products and services? Or is it exclusive to me? And who captures the value offered by these complements? And then again, the word value is very important. So that's for Porter's 5-force model. Now, the other one is stakeholder. Now, stakeholders are entities that have interest or a stake in the organization. If you have a company, all of these are stakeholders: customers, employees, stockholders, lenders, think about the banks, rivals, suppliers, government, local community. All of them have interest in the firm. So these models, these stakeholder models, are often used for both strategic and normative purposes. Strategic stakeholder analysis emphasizes the stakeholder management issues that are likely to impact the firm's financial performance, how they affect the company business. A normative stakeholder analysis will emphasize the stakeholders' management issues the firm ought to attend due to the ethical or moral implications. So, the first step for this analysis is to identify all the parties that will be affected by the behavior of the firm and those that have a stake in the firm. For each party, the firm will identify what the stakeholders' interests are, what resources they contribute to the organization, what claims are likely to make on the organization, and which will be the most important from the firm's perspective. So again, remember, you are analyzing threats and opportunities. Think about factories. They usually have big issues in the local community talking about pollution and contamination. Okay, there are communities that become organized and they will protest against the factory. Close the factory, it's destroying the ecosystem. So you need to be sure to know, identify what their interests are, how they contribute. Remember, if you have a factory, the local population will be our workforce. What they claim are going to make about the organization and how important they are. Remember, I keep telling you, the book gives you the tool. How you apply the tool depends the country, the government, the market, the company, the business model, and you need to do this by hand. So that's for the external analysis. And then the second part for assessing the firm's current position is the internal analysis. And this most often begins with identifying the strengths and the weaknesses of the firm. Now, for this one, we got Porter's chain value of strength. Value chain model. And activities are divided into primary activities and support activities. And in your book, you got this small graphic. So you got the primary activities: inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing, service. And the support activities: infrastructure administration, HR management, technology development, procurement. So, the first one, the primary. Inbound logistics was that all the activities required to receive, store, or disseminate, distribute inputs. Operations, obviously, activities involving the transformation of the inputs into outputs. Outbound logistics, activity required to collect, store, and distribute the outputs. Marketing and sales, activities to inform buyers about products and services and to introduce their purchase. And the service, after sales activities required to keep the product or service working efficiently. Okay, so those are the 5 primary activities. Now, in the support ones, we got procurement, the acquisition of inputs. But be careful, not the physical transfer, because that will be the primary inbound logistics. This is just make the deal. Okay, get a supplier and get ready to get it. Human resource, activity for recruiting, hiring, training, and compensating our workforce, personnel. Technology development, activities involved in developing and managing equipment, hardware, software, procedures, knowledge necessary to transform the inputs into outputs. And obviously the place, the infrastructure, the factory. Okay? And other functions such as accounting, legal counsel, finance, planning, public affairs, government relations, quality assurance, and general management necessary to ensure the small management functioning of the firm. So those are the 5 primary and the 4 support. So each activity can be considered from the point of view of how it helps, how it contributes the overall value produced by the firm. And again, what the firm's strengths and weaknesses are. Once the key strengths and weaknesses are identified, the firm can assess the strengths and the potential to be a source of sustainable competitive advantage. This helps the firm to gain valuable perspective, which its activities and resources should be further leveraged in its articulation of its strategic intent for the future. That's the strength of the company. And by identifying obviously the weaknesses, you try to fix it. Some are easy, some are not easy to fix. Now, to be a potential source of sustainable competitive advantage, resources must be rare, valuable, durable, and legal. That means not easy to copy. Resources that are rare and valuable may yield a competitive advantage, but that advantage will not be sustainable if the firm is incapable of keeping the resources, or if other firms are capable of imitating them. Okay? You can have a small competitive advantage over resources, but once it's out there in the market, well, other companies can look at it, research, copy, make it same or better. And then the company will lose its competitive advantage over resources. Again, many valuable resources are quickly imitated by other firms. They don't stay long in time. Now, technological advances, well, they are reverse engineered. We talked about this before. Okay? You make a phone. Well, the competition can buy it, can open, look what's inside, how it's assembled, and they can make it backwards. Skillful marketing campaigns, they can be copied. You know, these human resource practices can be adopted by imitators. Okay? I can offer that engineer more money, come to me, and give me their secrets. What you did there, make it better here. Okay? So all of those can be easily copied. Now, some resources are not easy to imitate. If valuable resources are tacit, remember we talked about tacit? You must learn by heart. Task dependent, socially complex, or casually ambiguous, well, those will be extremely difficult to imitate. Think company culture. Company culture is very difficult to imitate. Okay? Think about Japanese culture. They're very strict, hardworking, very efficient. And other countries lack that culture. So it's very difficult to copy. Okay, before we continue, so that's for analyzing or assessing the firm's current position. Again, you make an external analysis, you support the 5-force model, stakeholder analysis, internal analysis, support the value chain model, and you analyze your primary and your support activities. And then, you know this? What's that? What's that? No one? Know that you study already this? I'm worried about you. But you don't know, I asked. You didn't say, but you don't know. So, this is not SWOT. This is analysis. With your results, you make the SWOT table. Yeah, the SWOT is a summary of all of his work. And then after the SWOT, you can go for the strategic intent. Because, again, you're clear about your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And again, maybe, well, usually all these big companies already have all these. But remember, this is not carved on stone. These need to be continuously rechecked, continuous improvement. So maybe your job will be to, from a fresh perspective, reanalyze the company and compare it with the previous analysis. And evaluate if the company improved or got worse. Or if the strategic intent of the company needs to be fixed. Maybe the old was too ambitious. Maybe you need to lower the expectations. Or maybe everything is so good and this is too less. We need to improve the expectations. And then again, the book will guide you, but it would not tell you the answer. And how good or bad, well, that's up to your skill. Analysis to be able to do all of this. Because remember, if this is wrong, this will be wrong and this will fail. That's a lot of pressure. In that word, you have good managers and bad managers. Now, we don't only use the SWOT. We also need to identify core competencies and capabilities. Have you learned about this? Yes or no? Have you learned about this? No? Okay, so try to follow. So, what's a core competency? It refers to the harmonized combination of multiple resources and skills that will distinguish the firm in the marketplace, and they use the term capabilities to distinguish more elemental skills, such as logistic management or advertising, that might contribute to a competency. Don't worry, it sounds a little bit complicated. So think about some authors have argued that the core competencies are more elemental technological or production skills, while the capabilities are more broadly based on what encompasses the firm's entire value chain. So in other words, capabilities equals competencies, which equal to the special abilities and skills that the company has. Think about the spirit of the company. What makes the company the company? So, let's focus on core competencies first. Companies' core competencies are typically considered to be those that differentiated strategically. A core competency arises from the firm's ability to combine and harmonize multiple primary abilities, which the firm is really good at, excels, into a few key building blocks of specialized expertise. So, these competencies often combine different kinds of abilities, such as managing the market interface, building and managing an effective infrastructure, and obviously technological abilities. Now, that combination and harmonization of multiple abilities will make it difficult to copy. Praha and Hamel compare core competencies to the roots of a tree from which you can grow core products, such as major components of sub-assemblies. Core products, in turn, give rise to business units, whose fruits are the various end products of a company. Okay, so again, think like a tree. Core competencies are the roots that grow core products. And then The fruit will be business units, which will give the end products. Several core competencies may underlie an individual business unit, and several business units may draw upon the same core competency. This indicates the organization's structure and incentive must encourage cooperation and exchange of resources across strategic business unit boundaries. Instead of viewing individuals as being employed on one strategic business unit, the individuals will be considered corporate assets, and they can be sent anywhere within the organization. Open mind. Think about open mind. In your textbook, you have this picture. Okay? So again, think a tree. So the competences will be your roots. The core products will be your trunk. The different businesses are the branches. And the end product will be the fruit. Is that clear? So? Any questions? Okay, let's go with some examples so it's easier maybe to understand. So again, we talk about core competencies, core products, and end products. Okay? And figure like a straight line. Now let's think about a big brand. Everybody knows Sony, right? Yes? So what do you think is their core competency? What do you think? Can you give me some example? An example? Come on guys, this can be a test question. I can give you a company and you have to tell me which is the core competency, core products, and end products. Can I give you 1 minute to think? Right, that's an easy example. Everybody knows Sony. What are they good at? But that's a product. It's not a core competency. What are they good at? Yes? But which technology? Yeah, but that's a theory. But what's the core? Specifically. No. Okay, I'll give it to you. Imaging, entertainment, integration, gaming. Wait, what's TV? TV is an image. A camera is an image. A movie is an image. Entertainment. Well, you know Sony has Sony Pictures. Gaming, we have PlayStation. So, what are the core products? What are the core products? That's the answer. I tell you that's the answer. Okay, don't worry. Image sensors, gaming platforms, audio systems. You have your competency, you have your core products, and then you have the end products that will be PlayStation, different TVs, the different cameras they sell, the different movies they put into the market, music. You follow? Yes. Entertainment. They make because they produce them. Yes? Sony Pictures. It's not as big as if you think about Warner Bros. Or Paramount or Marvel, Disney, okay? But they have a segment. Well, Spider-Man movies are from Sony Pictures. Avengers is from Marvel, Disney. But only Spider-Man, Venom, those are from Sony. Yes, because we usually think Sony's technology, not only technology. It's much more. Okay, let's try another example. Well, you know Alphabet? Previously Google, but now they changed to Alphabet. You know, right? You know that? No, terrible. Okay, think about, again, Alphabet, formerly known before as only Google, but they changed. So think, what is Alphabet, Google, core competence? Guys, a word for your picture. Come on, these are big companies. Everybody knows these companies, right? I mean, everybody knows how they work, what they do. Okay, we cannot waste too much time on this. So our competency will be AI, search algorithms, and data infrastructure. That's their core competency. What makes them special? What will be the core products? What do they do with that? Apps. What else? The first one was that. Internet-based productivity tools. Cloud platform, Android ecosystem. Okay, that's the apps, okay? So those apps are internet-based productivity tools. Okay, you use any app from Google, you know they are based on internet. Some of them you can use them offline. Okay, like Google Maps. You can download the map if you don't have internet. But if you want to check your Drive, Google Drive, Cloud Store, Gmail, YouTube, well, you need to be online. So most of them are internet-based productivity tools, cloud platforms, and Android ecosystem. And obviously the end products, you already know them, Gemini, Google search engine, Google Maps, Google Drive, Google Gmail, and YouTube. You didn't know? Wow. Follow? Everybody follow? Let's play more. Coca-Cola. Come on, that should be easy, right? The core concept. What makes Coca-Cola Coca-Cola? Refreshing beverage, that sounds like end product. Not core concept. Still no one? Stop eating, no eating in my class. Nothing yet? Come on guys, it's too easy. Make me feel worried for you. Not exactly. Strong No, but what is more than 100 years old? Distribution network. Any place you travel in the world, you have Coca-Cola. A beverage formula, not the refreshment. The formula. Obviously, I guess you have to try other brands, but nothing tastes the same. And the closest one is what? Pepsi, maybe? And even if you taste Pepsi, it's different. It's not the same. And when you have a brand that is over 100 years, well, something. Core products. Oh, you have the drinks. What else? So that's the end one. Come on, guys, you need to open your mind. The beverage concentrate, the bottling system, and the portfolio of clients, customers. Okay? Obviously, you have the formula, you have the concentrate. I guess you've been in many fast food chains, like Popeyes, Kentucky, Fried Chicken, Lotteria. Yes? They had the drinking machine, the fountain, the soda fountain. You know how it works? They made the concentrate with water, with the soda, and they mix it into the cup. That's why the taste is different if you buy a canned Coke or a bottle of Coke or a plastic Coca-Cola. It's different than this. Bottling system. Maybe you have watched some videos how they bottle, how the factories, Coca-Cola factories work. Obviously, many companies already copied the system, but still, they were one of the first ones to mass produce beverages. And obviously, the portfolio, so every country has Coca-Cola. And the end products, obviously, all the brands, Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fanta. They have the water division. I think they have tea, some juice, etc. Fanta is I'm not sure. Maybe they bought the brand. Maybe. I'm not sure the story. What is Coca-Cola this one? Okay, I will give you another one. Honda. You know Honda, right? But also Toyota, Suzuki, Nissan. Remember, this is what makes your company unique, special. Well, yeah, one of the few ones here, but not the only one. So do you think that's what makes it special? No one? No one else? Okay, that will be the midterm, okay? I will give you a company. That's in the test, 100% sure. I will give you a company and you have to tell me these three things. Don't worry, I will give you a big brand. I will not give you these brands, obviously. But I will give you a big brand that you should be able to identify. Again, core competencies, core products, and products. And products is easy, these are products. But you should know or be able to identify what makes that company special, unique, competitive advantage. So, talking about Honda, engine engineering, not make it cheaper. Make a good engine. High quality, low cost is. That's what you mean. No, different. Precision manufacturing, mobility, innovation. So what will be the core products? Motorbikes? Powertrain systems, vehicle platforms, electric motor systems. Don't think, again, you're thinking in products. Think the main area. You follow? And obviously, automobiles, motorbikes, aircraft, robotics, generators, etc. Okay, think from macro to micro, small, bigger to smaller. Okay, one more. Canon. You know Canon, right? So? Yeah, that's an image, but what they are good at. Huh? Image. What about the image? What about the image? How do you get that thing? No magic. Something is happening there. Something they are good at that makes their images high or the highest quality. Okay, now we're talking about lens. What's the key? Size. Optics, image and processing, and mechatronics, what you mentioned, but that's the key. Okay, those are the competencies. And the products. And again, we think about the optics. We're talking about the lenses. Optical lenses, image sensors, image processors. We can talk about laser printers. Printing technology. That should be printing technology. The laser printer would be the one. And then obviously you got the camera, the printers, photocopies, cinema, systems, etc. Is that clear? Again, maybe in the future, your job is to do this. Analyze your company. What your company is good at. What differentiates from other companies in the same business. Where is the value of the company? The things that are not easy to copy. That's core competence. Any questions? Again, be sure you're clear because this will be a test question. I will give you one company. Your job is to identify those three things. And again, I would choose a big company. Okay? Not one that everybody should know. Okay, let's move on then. So, Prahalad and Hanel, they offer the following test to identify the firm's core competencies. 1. So asking these questions can help you reduce and identify successfully the core competencies. Is it a significant source of competitive differentiation? Does it provide a unique signature to the organization? Does it make a significant contribution to the value a customer perceives in the end product? Number 2, does it transcend one single business? Do I use that in different businesses? Again, if we think about Sony, if we think about the images, well, we use for the video, for the camera, for computer, for movies. So it's not only one single business. I can use the same core for different businesses. You follow? Does it cover a range of businesses, both current and new, future? Can I use that today and in future products? And is it hard for competitors to copy, to imitate? If you can answer these three main guidelines, you can easily identify your core competencies. What's that mean? You? Looks like a you. So, according to Prahalad and Hanel theory, few firms are likely to be leaders in more than 5 or 6 core competencies, no more than that. 5, 6 top. So, if you make a list, and your list is 20, 30 capabilities, well, probably you are not identifying the true core competencies. You have to squeeze them until you get to the core, the center. Again, companies should only have about 5 to 6. If you identify more than 10, 20, 30, it's wrong. You're not answering correctly. You're getting the wrong answers for the previous question. So, obviously, as we saw in the examples, core competencies are good, but they are not forever. They cannot be rigid, and there are risks of core rigidity. Sometimes the very things that a firm excels at enslave it, making the firm rigid, not easy to change, and not very committed to inappropriate skills and resources. And like I mentioned before, everybody knows Nokia. And Nokia was very good at making phones. And they believe in their core competencies. And when BlackBerry iPhone came out, they didn't change. They thought, no, what we do is make us a successful company. We're not going to change. We just keep pushing strong. But what happened? The market changed. And they didn't change. So what becomes their strength becomes their weakness. The organization culture may reward employees who are the most closely connected to the core competencies, with higher status and better access to the organizational resources. While these systems and norms can be beneficial in reinforcing and making this company strong with the existing core competencies, they can also inhibit the development of new core competencies. Okay? Firms that have well-developed knowledge sets along a specific trajectory may find it very hard to assimilate or utilize knowledge that appears unrelated to that trajectory, limiting the firm's flexibility to adapt. So, what do we need? Dynamic capabilities, not rigid ones. Sure, we need to reinforce what's good and working for the company, but we cannot keep that forever. Core competencies relate to the set of specific core products. It's also possible for a firm to develop core competencies that are not specific to any set of technologies or products, but rather to a set of abilities that enable it to quickly reconfigure its organizational structure and routines in response to new opportunities. So, in this case, I like to think about Vingroup here in Vietnam. Okay, think about Vingroup. Think about the products they have all this time. Maybe you can recall. Well, we talked about they make phones. There was a time they made phones. There was a time they made televisions. There was a time they made gas stars. Yes. Everybody follows? Yes. Do they do those three anymore? No. They quit the business. What do they have now? Electric cars. Now, if you think about it, okay, from the gas cars, they learn how to make cars. They have expertise, tacit knowledge how to make cars. Okay? From the TVs, from the phone, they can make a system that the car uses, the dashboard. So it's not that they quit and they just erase and forget about everything they did before. No. They use it, reshape it into new opportunities. That's why they have a strong business right now. Well, not that as strong as they wish, but still, it's working for them. They create new core capabilities from the old core capabilities. Because they got to a point where, okay, I make cars, but I cannot compete with Nissan, Toyota, Ford. I make TVs, but I cannot compete with Samsung, Sony, LG. I make phones, I cannot compete with Apple, with Samsung, Oppo, Xiaomi. But there are no electric cars. And I can use all those core capabilities to a new one, and a new core product and end product. You follow? Yes? Again, dynamic capabilities enable firms to quickly adapt to emerging markets or major technological discontinuities. It even manages its relationships with alliance partners, not as individual relationships focused on one project, but rather as an integrative, flexible system of capabilities that extend the firm's boundaries. Think bigger. So, again, we got where the company currently is. We understand the core capabilities, core competencies, and the end product, and then we can move into the strategic intent. What we want our company to be in the future. So, again, value. Value is a key term, it always shows. First, purpose to create value. This entails more than just providing operation or cutting costs. It means leveraging corporate resources to create more performance for customers, more well-being for employees, and more return for the shareholders. Create value. This is accomplished by developing new businesses and markets and leveraging corporate resources, all guided, again, by the strategic intent. A company's strategic intent is a long-term goal that is ambitious, builds upon, stretches the firm's existing core competencies, and draws from all the levels of the company. Simply, a strategic intent is a plan that looks 10, 20 years ahead and will establish clear milestones for employees to target, objectives. I think you know, right? A little bit about strategy. You know mission, vision, yes? So the basics come from the strategic plan. This forward orientation, looking orientation is crucial. We found that companies can easily become focused on markets that they have served only in the past. They don't know how to grow. They don't have a plan, what to do, where to go, what to make. Obviously, strategic intents are flexible. Usually every couple of years they are revised against how is the company performing, how is the business going on. Focusing on the firm's existing markets results in the development of products and services that meet current market requirements rather than future market requirements. They meet customers by developing and introducing products that extend well beyond current market requirements and help mold the market's expectation for the future. Okay? Talking about technology. Okay? We talk about, for example, right now, 5G. They're already thinking 6G. We have Wi-Fi 6. They're already thinking Wi-Fi 7, 8. Okay? We talk about phones. They're already thinking about the VR headsets. Obviously, they fail a little bit there. So, once this strategic intent has been articulated, the company should be able to identify the resources that I need, the capabilities required to close the gap between the strategic intent and the current position. Okay? So the plan is, okay, I know where I am, I have an idea where I want to be, how do I get there? What do I need to get there? Okay? What resources do I need? What capabilities do I need to get there? Again, articulating the company's strategic intent enables the company to focus its development efforts and choose the investments necessary to develop strategic technology and incorporate them into the company's new products. And in your book you have this table. Again, first current position, you get it here. Firm desired position, what you want, where you want the company to be. The strategic event is identify the resources and the capabilities to close this gap. Is that clear? Simplify. In other words, think about you. You want to buy something. I don't know, maybe you want to buy a new phone. And you assess, okay, what's my current position? Well, I just have $1 million. But the phone is, I don't know, 50 million. What do I need? I need money. I need 14 million more. How can I get it? Well, I could wait, my parents give me money, I save money. Or I could speed up, find a part-time job, save the money. So you have a plan. And you set a time. Okay, maybe I don't want to work forever, I just want to work maybe part-time 6 months. That's the strategic intent, a plan. Any questions? And again, there is no real guide steps how to do it. You just have these, let's say, skeleton steps that you need to follow. But then again, company, market, product, culture will affect how easy, how challenging, difficult it will be to get here. And again, how good, how bad your analysis is, well, that will be how good or bad your future is going to be, or the company. Questions? I think that's the end. That's chapter 6. Questions? No, nothing. So easy, right? Too easy. Okay, no questions? Huh? 26? You're 26? No. Who's 26? 26? You're 26? Yes. Where's your phone? Thank you, then.
It's here. I have no why.
18? Who's 18? Where's your phone? Not here. It should be here. Come on, guys. If you don't put your phone in the place, I will put you absent. last time. You have the break time for that. Okay, so you finished, give me the summary. And you have 15 minutes for break time. You can use your break time if you want to finish your summary. But if you finish, you can give it. If you finish, you can give it.
Anh lấy điện thoại hả?
Giveaway luôn chứ không xỉ gì nữa. Lấy cái con bắt đầu không?
Này giống như đi bán điện thoại.